When it comes to communication, the most important thing is consistency. People begin to define another person, another country, another organization based off something that they do over and over and over again. When I go to the store, I will buy the same product because I know that it was good in the past. But if it begins to change in its consistency, I might not buy that product and go to buy another one from another company. Humans have a tendency to see the world in a mathematical way. This is the whole point of science. We believe that the universe is mathematical, that there are laws in the universe, even though that is still an assumption. But when it comes to communication, consistency is even more important between individuals. If somebody begins to break their promises, we begin to see that as the new pattern and we judge that person based off those mistakes. If they are usually good, but they make one mistake and they continue being good, then they are still consistently seen in a good light. When it comes to international relations, this is harder to do. The concept of realism in international relations is the idea that the world is actually an anarchy. There is no world government, so all countries are competing with one another for resources and for power. This becomes harder for countries, especially Western countries, who try to live up to certain values, for instance, human rights or just general ideas that sound romantically good. Countries like China or Russia, South Africa, they don't live up to the same values. And so maybe for them, it is actually easier for them to exist in the world. They are more straightforward with what they want. Now, of course, if they are not consistent with the values that they want, they will still be judged. For example, China most notably says that its goal is preserving the Chinese nation to live up to the Chinese culture that has existed for 5,000 years. On an international stage, they say that they are living up to the value of bringing more countries to the table because they believe for too long only Western countries have had a voice at the international table. But if they begin to not live up to those goals, they will be judged as well. Chinese people, a lot of them look up to their government because they believe that they are preserving the Chinese nation. But maybe when they see the government doing things that they don't like, or if it indirectly affects them or affects them, they begin to question whether that country is actually living up to those values. And similarly, as Chinese companies go abroad, if they treat individuals in these other countries in a way that is not to those individuals' liking, those people might see the messaging of China as not being mathematically correct, not being consistent. But this, as I said, is a bigger challenge for Western countries because countries, especially the United States, always talks in very moralistic language. We are the country of human rights. We are the country of capitalism and free trade. But what we are seeing now is that this messaging is becoming harder to be consistent with. In realism, we also have the Thucydides trap. As another country is rising and the former world power is facing some challenges, it becomes harder to live up to those values that you say is part of your identity. Europe is the most direct receiver of this messaging at the moment. Since World War II, they believe that they are part of a larger alliance with the United States, but seeing Trump in his dealings with Ukraine, they are beginning to question the consistency of the United States' relationship with them. The Biden administration was supporting Ukraine, Trump not so much. But anybody outside of Europe may already see it like this. I was talking to a friend, not an American, not a European, the other day, and he was saying he was surprised how Europeans were just so surprised that this was happening, because for countries elsewhere, they've already always kind of seen through the rhetoric. If we look back into history, America has said that it supported free trade. That was all about Reagan. In the past 40 years, free trade and capitalism were a big part of the American identity. However, if we look further back into the 1960s, we understand that this was maybe not the exact goal that they had in mind. Instead, the goal was to preserve American dominance around the world. In the 1950s, America was dominant, and as other countries began to reemerge from World War II, we saw more trade issues, and we had President Kennedy have to debate: do we allow easier trade with these other countries, or do I preserve the interests of certain economic lobbyists in the United States? And so now we are seeing again our presidents having to go back on this vision of free trade. The past 40 years, we believed that the goal was free trade, capitalism. But now we are going back on that. We are being more protectionist. So the consistency is not there, and it's giving mixed messaging to other countries. The Thucydides trap is an idea in realism that as a former or current political power is facing more challenges from emerging political power, the ideology that was used begins to be challenged and issues arise. And perhaps that is what is happening at the moment.